Hi friends, in this video we have studied the worm and worm gear. Okay, worm and worm gear. In this video, that is the what is the worm and worm gear and use for the worm gear. Okay, what is the worm and worm gear? Our worm and worm gears are used to transmit the power from one shaft to the another shaft, which are non-intersecting but their axes are normally right angles to each other. Worm and worm gears means what is the function of the gear? Gear is the function of the to transmit the power from one shaft to the another shaft, which in worm gears which are non-intersecting but their axes are normally, but this is the one axis of the one gear and this is the second axis of the one. This axis are right angles to each other. These gears is called as the worm and worm gear. Okay, what is the worm and worm gear? Worm and worm gear are used to transmit the power from one shaft to the another shaft, which are non-intersecting. Okay, which are non-intersecting, but their axes are normally, but their axes are normally perpendicular to each other. It is called as the worm and worm gear. There is a terminology of the worm gears. Which part is used in terminology of the worm gears? That is the axial pitch. Then what is the axial pitch? Axial pitch, it is a distance measured along the axis from one point of one to the corresponding to the point and adjacent to the axial pitch means काय तुमचं? It is the distance measured along the axis from one point of one tooth to the corresponding point on the adjacent tooth. It is called as the axial pitch. The axial pitch of the worm gears is equal to the circular pitch of the worm gear. Okay, the axial pitch of the worm is equal to the circular pitch of the worm gear. The second terminology will be the lead. What is the lead? Lead is a distance moved by the point on the helical profile when the worm is rotated through the one revolution. And what is the lead? Lead is a distance moved by the point on the helical profile when the worm is rotated through the one revolution. Here is equal to n PA, where here is the lead of the worm, N is the number of the stars, PA is the axial pitch. And what is the lead? Lead is the distance, that is the distance moved by the point on the helical profile when worm is rotated through the one revolution. It is called as the lead. Okay, lead's formula L is equal to NPA, where L is the lead of the worm, N is the number of the star, PA is the axial pitch. And third terminology will be the lead angle. Lead angle. Now what is the lead angle? Lead angle, that is the delta. It is the angle between the tangent to the helix and the line normal to the axis of the worm. And what is the angle? That is a delta. It is the angle between the tangent to the helix and the line normal to the axis of the worm. It is called as the lead angle delta. Then what is the lead angle delta? Is the formula is the pi by 2 minus alpha 2. Pi by 2 means 90 degree minus alpha 2, where the alpha 2 is the spiral angle of worm. Okay, when one thread of the worm is developed, it belows the hypotenuse of the triangle whose base is equal to the circumference of the worm and the altitude is equal to the lead of the worm. What is the lead angle? Lead angle, it is angle between the tangent. It is the angle between the tangent to the helix and line normal to the axis of the worm. Lead angle alpha is equal to pi by 2 minus alpha 2 is equal to 90 minus alpha 2. Alpha, where the alpha 2 is the spiral angle of the worm. When the one thread of the worm is developed, it becomes the hypotenuse. When the one thread of the worm is developed, it becomes the hypotenuse of the triangle whose base is equal to the circumference of the worm and the altitude is equal to the lead of the worm, and altitude is equal to the lead of the worm. Okay, that is the altitude of the worm. This description, that is the lead angle alpha, and this is the hypotenuse, and this is the lead, and then the pi by 2. It is a circular pitch. Then what is the tan phi? Tan phi is the L upon pi by 2. Adjacent side, that is side upon adjacent side, that is tan delta is equal to L pi by d2, where is the lead of the worm, d2 is the pitch circle diameter of the worm, d2 is the pitch circle diameter of the worm, where alpha is the spiral angle of the worm gear, then shaft angle is alpha 1 plus alpha 2 is equal to 90. Alpha 1 is equal to 90 minus alpha 2. Alpha 1 is equal to del. Spiral angle of the worm gear, alpha 1 is equal to lead angle of the worm delta. Spiral angle of the worm gear, alpha 1 is equal to lead angle of the worm delta. Okay, that is the tan delta is equal to L upon pi by d2, where L is the lead of the worm, d2 is the pitch circle diameter of the worm, that is the t2 is the pitch circle diameter of the worm. If alpha 1 is the spiral angle of the worm gear, then shaft angle is alpha 1 plus alpha 2 is equal to 90 degree. Alpha 1 is equal to 90 minus alpha 2. Alpha 1 is equal to delta, that is the delta spiral angle of the worm gear alpha 1, that is the spiral angle worm gear alpha 1 is equal to lead angle of the worm, that is the lead angle of worm. Alpha is equal to alpha 2, that is the spiral angle of the worm gear alpha 1 is equal to lead angle of the alpha of the day. Okay, this is the terminology is used in a worm and worm gear. Next point will be the velocity ratio and the center distance. Velocity ratio and the center distance between the worm gear, okay, that is a this circle is called as a pitch circle of the worm gear. This is called as the pitch cylinder of the worm gear. This is the two worm gears, that is the pitch circle of the worm gear, and this is the pitch cylinder of the worm gear. d2 is the diameter of the worm gear, and d1 is the diameter of the pitch circle of the worm gear. That is a PA is equal to PE is equal to L, and PA is equal to L. Okay, and this two axes, this distance is called as the center distance L. This distance we have find that. How it is a find? That is this derivation we have seen in this video. Okay, then let theta 2 be the angle turned by the worm is the one revolution, which is given by theta 2 is equal to 2 pi. Okay, 2 point on the pitch circle of the worm gear is also moving equal distance along the pitch circle due to the pure rolling action between the two pitch circle. Okay, 2 point on the pitch circle of the worm gear is also moving equal distance along the pitch circle due to the pure rolling action between the two pitch circle. Okay. When the worm turns by the theta 2 in the one revolution, then the angle turned by the worm gear is theta 1. Theta 1 is equal to L upon R1 is equal to L upon D1 upon 2 is equal to 2L upon D1. So it is a velocity ratio. Velocity ratio is the ratio of the angle turned by the worm gear in one revolution of the worm of the to the angle turned by the worm in the one revolution. That is the velocity ratio is equal theta 1 upon theta 2. Then what is the theta 1? Theta 1 is the 2L upon d1 and theta 2 is the 2 pi. Okay, to get cancelled, we have get the L upon pi d1, or velocity ratio is equal to, what is the L? L is the nothing but the NPA. That is a lead, that is a NPA is nothing but we have seen as the lead. That is the L is equal to NPA upon d1. Let L is the center distance. We let L is the center distance between the worm and worm gear. Alpha 1 and alpha 2 is the spiral angles of the worm gear and worm gear respectively. T1 and T2 number of teeth on the worm gear and the worm respectively. MT1 and MT1 transfer module for the worm gear. Mn is the normal module for the worm and worm gear. R1 and R2 is the piece circle radius. R1 and R2 is the piece circle radius of the worm and the worm gear and the worm respectively. R1 is the R1 R2 piece circle radius of the worm gear and the worm respectively. Okay, center distance, we know that the piece circle radius, what is the piece circle radius? What is the formula of the piece circle radius? Is the R is equal to mt upon t upon 2, where the mt is the transfer module and the t is the number of teeth on the gear. That is the piece circle radius of the worm gear is the R1 is equal to mt1 upon 2 upon pi, and the piece circle radius of the worm gear is R2 is equal to mt2 upon 2 upon t2. Okay, T1 and T2. The center distance between the worm and worm gear, that is L is equal to R1 plus R2. That is a MT1 plus MT1 upon T2 upon 2 plus MT2